Hey guys, it's me, Sammy G here, and I am going to be answering questions about jobs in tech and in general just remote work because a lot of people they're not sure exactly what is the deal with remote work. I know with the threat of coronavirus and other worries, people are really interested in knowing more about this topic. And it's becoming bigger in the news. Twitter had 5,000 of its workforce actually go and work remote for safety reasons. There's a lot of universities that are doing that. Um, so, what is the deal with remote work? Now, I got a lot of really good questions in the CareerFoundry Slack community. I also posted this on LinkedIn as well. Um, so, I'm just going to go through a lot of those questions and let you know what the deal is. Okay, now, Valeria asked, at what point in my career is it realistic to work remotely? Um, she poses that not as a junior UX designer, but perhaps as mid-level or senior. She also had a follow-up question was, do you know about taxes and legal issues when working remote for a company? Where some ins kind of ask this as if it should ever be relevant. Now, one, I'm going to say this about any tax issue. Asking people on the internet who are not tax professionals about your taxes is not a good idea. Um, Another thing to consider is that a lot of people confuse working remote with freelancing. Um, Workers can be freelancers, but not all. If you are actually on if you're a full employee, then you'll be treated the same when it comes to taxes, whether you are in the office or not. Your taxes only become more complicated if you are a freelancer, a contractor, a business owner, which then you would follow the rules for freelancers in your country. I suggest anybody who's freelancing or starting their own business or what have you, actually just talk to a tax professional in your country. You'll save yourself some time. But yeah, so that is the biggest disclaimer. I am not a tax professional. But the next question that Valeria had was, at what point in tech career is it realistic to work remotely? Depending on your background, working with a design team is a great learning experience, especially if you have a learning style that requires in-person interaction. However, if going into user experience design is more of a horizontal move, then this, I guess, social movement might not be necessary. Most companies, remote or not, want someone who can work from day one. So this does create a preference for mid-level or senior designers, but there are remote-only companies where even the juniors are remote. So it's not exactly unheard of for somebody to actually be a junior and work remote. And is sort of a follow-up question that kind of ties into a question that Tanya asks, which would you recommend pursuing a remote position for a first job in UX, especially in terms of the learning curve? Tanya worked remotely before and found it difficult to learn new things without just self-teaching. Now, that is really about your individual skills level and comfort level. But as I said before, most companies want you to fulfill the duties of the job on day one when it comes to these tech roles. So there could be some onboarding, there can be a bit of training, but a lot of times they're really looking for self-starters, people can research and learn on their feet. So that is going to be a big thing when it comes to showcasing, whether it's in your personality or your personal brand or your resume, that you are somebody who can work independently, that you are self-starter, that you can find work, that essentially you don't need a manager looking over your shoulder, seeing what you're doing. And that is a big deal for them. Let's see. Now, we had another question from Kaz, who is really confused about what's the difference between remote work and freelancing, and what are the major factors to consider before you start either. and also how you get the first project. Now, this question is huge. Like, you could do like multiple videos on just these three questions. But it's simple. One, remote workers can be freelancers, but they can also work for a regular company with regular compensation, benefits, and there are more and more companies that are remote only. Buffer is an example of a remote only team. And you will apply for remote jobs with companies with CVs and other materials in a similar manner to a location dependent job. However, for tech workers, freelancing can be split into two factions. One, the people who are essentially business owners and generate their own client leads. And I really do suggest getting your first client from your personal network, so you can actually practice the process of client onboarding, briefing, delivering the product with someone who's a friendly face. So that's one group. Freelancers who are like business owners, and they find their own clients. The next group, the other group, are the people who work with like a talent agency or a recruiter or a staffing firm, and the staff firm is the one who generates the client leads and actually takes a fee from the company to find candidates for contract and freelance work. So those are the two factors. Deciding which you want to be really comes down to one, do you like sales and marketing? Are you good at it? Are you willing to take the time to learn it? Are you willing to have the frustration that comes with client generation? If that is not something that appeals to you, you're probably going to want to work with a staffing agency instead. Now, let's see. Ryan had a question. What are the pros and cons of remote work for beginning designers and developers? Is it realistic for a beginner to apply to remote opportunities? Now, here's the pros for remote work across the board. Flexible schedule, working from anywhere, less time commuting, so more time with the family, and you can work from home. I would say that last one is a bit of a double-edged sword for some people, because some people can find that they might be distracted at home, and that's one of the cons. Another con is unplugging from work, because if you work from home, you don't have that transition of getting on the bus or getting in your car or going on the metro and go home. So unplugging from work is hard. Some people feel lonely without a team and people to kind of collaborate with. They also might find it difficult to actually do collaboration and communication, because it's not like in an office where you're there, so you really don't have to try hard to know what's going on. If you are working on, you have to make that extra to know what's going on, to create connections on the team. People get distracted at home. If there's different time zones in the team, which can be difficult. I know that for me, depending on where I travel, like sometimes I'll have to be up at midnight for a meeting or 7 in the morning. So that can be a challenge. Another thing is staying motivated. Some people do find that time management becomes an issue. If you are a remote worker who's a freelancer and you have your own business, do your client generation, then taking a vacation is difficult, because if you don't work, then you don't get paid. Another issue is finding reliable Wi-Fi if you have decided to do the digital nomad route. So those are some pros and cons. However, I would say yes, there are remote volunteer internships and job opportunities for junior designers, but I would caution that designers check in with your own personality to decide if the remote life is for them in their learning style. Some people need to learn in person. Some people need to communicate in person. Some people need to delegate or be delegated to in person. So it can sound cool to work in your pajamas, but for some people it's just not how their brain works. So to thine own self be true. Let's see. Emily's question is the industry going one way or the other these days in terms of shifting towards accepting more remote work, or just having people be in the office? Remote is on the rise. It's more acceptable. It's why when you look at a lot of seniors, you don't see many who started off remote, because people didn't do that 10 years ago in many companies. So you'll want to make sure that when you are um, going towards thinking about if you want to be remote or if it's possible in your area, a good rule of thumb is that the more conservative or traditional the industry, the most unfriendly to remote workers, startups, or interested in that. So it's one thing to think about when you are actually looking for jobs. If you want to go remote, then a very traditional corporation might not be the thing for you. Um, so another thing to think about is, um, I know this is timely, but with different um, health issues in the news, a lot of companies are being pushed out of their comfort zone when it comes to remote. So you never know. You might have a company that said, no, we're not going to do that. Then people get quarantined and they have to learn how to work it. So you never know. In general, in tech, especially with startups, it's on the rise. It's a lot more acceptable. Um, Depending on the manager, if a manager is comfortable, then they're more likely to allow that than a manager who may never manage people that way. It takes a different skill set. Vanjie asks, how is looking for a remote job different from looking for an on-site job? Well, there's, I would say, three key differences. Personal branding is more important. Employers want to get a good feeling of your vibe from your resume, your cover letter, your portfolio. If the application allows you to, say, like attach a video, then you really should take the opportunity. The next thing is your applications need to be more tailored to the role. Um, and that is difficult for some people. Because a lot of people don't want to maybe take that effort, but that's the thing. A lot of people want to work remote, but they are just tossing generic applications everywhere. So anyone who's ever hired for a remote job has to really cut out a third to half of the applicants because they will just not be qualified. They might not have read it. So the more that you can show with your application that you actually looked at the job lead and thought about it, the better going to be. Another thing to think about is a lot of remote jobs are filled through word of mouth. So networking with remote workers is a good strategy to find jobs that you won't find anywhere else. Cynthia asks how to find remote work. Like I said with networking, but you can also check job boards like motive.io or seek out listings on remote-only company websites. Catalin asks, how likely is it that your geographic location will impact your chances of getting a remote job? In what ways? Your location can impact it. Some companies just want remote workers in a specific time zone to facilitate team or customer communication. Another factor which is problematic is that depending on where you're located and the cost of living there, to where the employer is, they might try to lowball you. If you are in Thailand, they might offer you a wage way lower than maybe they offer their British employees. So that's the thing to think about. Tanya asks, would you recommend pursuing a remote position for a first job in UX? I already talked about that, and that is another one that depends on you. Joan wants to know about skill sets of how you're looking for a remote position and what tools we should know. The tools are going to be the collaboration tools and the productivity tools. You're going to know the technical tools that they require, like Sketch or whatever, just tools of the trade. But to actually facilitate communication, you're going to want to know Slack. You're going to be familiar with Trello or Asana. The Google Office suite's important. Zoom, Skype, those are going to be top tools to know. And you're also going to need to have the willingness to research. If there's a new tool that you don't understand, Google a tutorial. Because the traits that they're looking for is one, self-starter, can work with little direction, independent, focused, collaborative, curious, they're tech savvy, they're resourceful, they make their own work, they know how to handle their schedule, and they show some passion about the organization. Because a lot of these remote only companies, they're doing it many times um, out of a sense of environmental um, consciousness, making sure that people don't have to travel a bunch and stuff like that. Sometimes they're doing it for life balance. Um, so most of the time, these companies will be passionate about what they do, and that is why they have their team the way they are, because they're passionate about their work, they're passionate about their company, and they want you to share that as well. Going to an interview and being like, well, I just want to work remote, I don't care where, that is not going to impress anyone. Christoph wants to know if their career chances decrease if they go for a remote job. That depends. Um, if you make it a point to collaborate, communicate, and create connections with other team members, you will do fine, just like any other company. However, keep in mind that company tech can be pretty short, like 2 to 3 years, and you'll most likely make more money by moving to a higher role in another company than being promoted in the one that you're currently at. So keep that in mind. I'm probably going to be making lateral moves anyway. Or you're going to be making career moves anyway. I wouldn't have that be a sticking point. But if you are somebody who does find it hard to network and take ownership of things, claim your work, negotiate your pay, you find that difficult to do that remotely, then yes, that could decrease your chance. But that really depends on you and your personality. Kelly wants to know, what tools do you recommend having in your workspace? You just need a quiet space with little distraction. Well, as little as you need. I just have regular headphones and a regular laptop. I do make sure that I have a data plan that is unlimited and international, so I can work from anywhere. But tech jobs, they're not going to require you to have specific hardware so much as software, and that's going to be something that you're already probably going to have just as a practitioner. It's mostly only customer service jobs that require a specific setup, and they'll give you a list. So those are the questions about working remotely in tech. As you can see, I am working remotely in a cafe that was actually pretty quiet when I started this video, and then got louder as I went on. But that's the remote work life. So you can make it work. It depends on you and what you want and your needs. So keep that in mind. Some people have this idea laptop lifestyle and it's going to blow their skirts up. But that's not always for everybody. You have to really look at yourself and what you can do and what you can produce. And that's really going to be the thing that's going to decide if remote work is for you. So I hope this was helpful and have a good one. Let me know if you guys have questions. Bye.